Well, what can I say? We are so pleased and privileged this afternoon to have a bit of a local legend. Played for a number of clubs in the area, including Walshamley Willows. Certainly a legend at Bury Town. His words, not mine. Away from football, he's also a coffee connoisseur. He knows a great blend when he tastes it. However, unfortunately, you wouldn't trust this guy with your neighbour's cat, which we will touch on as soon as we pass over. So, good afternoon, Olly Hughes.
Afternoon, Trev. How are you doing?
Good,
afternoon.
You?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
If we can just start off with that story about the cat, because Ryan Jolland has messaged me. I asked him for some material, and he said just to ask him about the neighbour's cat and the collar. So it's over to you, mate.
Can I bring a prop in for this part?
What, the cat? He's had it stuffed.
Is this like Nick Pope again? Is he going? Is his cat run off?
It is.
Oh,
James Bond, isn't it? James
Say
Bond.
hello, guys.
Hughes.
Woken him up for this. Oh, sorry.
Is that actually yours though?
It's now officially my cat. It wasn't to begin with. The story goes, Ryan Jolland and the players had come over for some food and a drink, I think after a training session or a game or something. And this little white cat was at the back on my back door, and Ryan kindly let him in the house and then locked him in the house. So he was running around all over the place, a little bit afraid of 20 guys around the house, and and then came back the same time next day and came back for weeks on end, and I kindly fed him, as I'm sure you're meant to do with other people's cats.
I thought you were still talking about Ryan Jolland there.
Littlest hobo.
It's a happy ending. He's now officially my cat, so it's all legal and above board.
So I don't know about you, Trev, but I've read into that you've stolen a cat. To be honest, that's how that's come across to me.
Yeah. The worst thing is, it was a neighbour's cat, lived only a few doors along, that I'd sort of stolen. And I bumped into her some weeks later, and she said, "I don't suppose you've seen a little white cat anywhere? I've not seen him for about 6 weeks." I said, "Yeah, he's on the spare bed. He's been there for ages."
You painted it black by then.
I put a collar on him. She said, "I don't recognise that collar."
I'm genuinely intrigued here. Like, how did that end up? Like, did she not upset by this, or?
Yeah, I'm going to try not to make it too long a story, but the lady worked at a care home in Bury, and the carers have been feeding this poor cat for the last couple of years. I think the owner had moved on or had died. And the cat was obviously then living outdoors, and they couldn't live inside the care home, and they took pity on him, so they fed him same sort of time each day. He lived outside, toileted outside, and then some of the residents complained about this cat being about, and they were going to put him into the stray cat place just outside Bury. And the carer said, "No, I'll take him back to Rougham, and he can be a community cat because he goes from house to house anyway." And that's what he was. So I think she had an elderly cat who kept chasing him out of her house, and he wasn't too keen to stay there. So I sort of took him in, and he's been with me since.
I can't believe on the Trev And Tats podcast we're talking about cats here. Tats, what's happening?
NSPCA, a little promotion to the NSPCA. I'll tell you what I want to talk about, actually, because Olly, I heard you on I think it's Lee Simmons or Simons's podcast when you did a little bit about I think just talking about your career at Bury Town, but your opening line was I think you were just clarifying what you're called, whether you're called Olly with an IE or Olly with a Y, and obviously this is something that's quite personal to you and quite important, because like literally your opening line was you needed to get that across. So I just want to confirm, what is it? It's IE or is it Y?
It's IE on my number plate, and Y if it's me choosing. I prefer Y, and I've always spelt it Y, but the Bravery Press and other places for years had spelt it double LIE.
So what did you think about Link earlier then?
Yeah, brilliant.
He's fuming. He's absolutely fuming.
I'm not too precious, although I do get a little bit angry every year when my sister drops off a birthday card. She spells it Oli, and that really gets to me.
It's like rubbing it in, isn't it?
It's poor.
That's
unbelievable.
Before we
Olly.
before we touch on about football, Tats.
Do we touch on football? Do we? Do we actually touch on football?
We've done the cats thing, haven't we? We've done Trev And Tats.
We've done that.
So Ryan Jolland, who came up with the first story, bless him, good lad. He tells me that you're also into rugby in a big way as well. So much so that you tend to wear rugby boots. So can you sort of explain a bit more about that? What was that story?
So a few years ago, we had an away game. I think it was Barking away, and
oh, nice.
My boots were absolutely were knackered, and it was literally about an hour and a half before we were due to leave on the coach, and I'd nipped into town, couldn't find anything that I wanted in my size in the Sports Direct or elsewhere, and I ended up going down to it was Intersport, wasn't it, on Whiting Street? I went into there. And went downstairs, and the chap was a great salesman. He told me that these boots were really popular. They'd sold so well. They were really comfortable, etc. So I was in a rush, and I quickly put these all black boots on. Had a little walk in them, felt fine. Paid 150 quid for them, I think, which was the most I've ever spent on a pair of boots. And then turned up the game, and I still didn't know. The lads pointed out to me that they were the New Zealand, the all black boots that they've been wearing at the Rugby World Cup. Obviously the studs were slightly longer on them, but I didn't want to like obviously show that I had made a mistake in buying rugby boots rather than football boots. So I continued to wear them, and the ground was really heavy, obviously, for a number of months afterwards, and it was quite good. The studs were longer, and it was easy to put in and to turn. And I could kick one hell of a grubber kick as well with them.
Conversions everywhere.
I was going to say that. I bet you converted a few as well.
I think a few people have said that I'm a bit of a trendsetter, and I certainly was with that pair of boots.
I'm going to give you.
You see lots of people wearing them now.
I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And I don't know if you ever did this, Trev, as well. But when the season did get heavy, I have to say I used to go and buy the longer studs, the rugby studs. I used to put them in my boots, and they I think it's more because, Trev, I don't know if you know this, but myself and Olly are really quick, sort of agile type of players. So it's maybe more for us. You wouldn't know. Don't worry, you wouldn't know.
I'm looking confused because you said about when you used to play on heavy pitches, Tats.
Yeah.
That's got me.
I would have to say they were my second least popular boots at Bury, though. The worst ones, or the ones that received the worst reception, were a pair of blue Kaisers that I wore in my first season, and it was when we had an all blue kit as well, so you can imagine.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
I love them, but the other players didn't.
Player power. You ended up having to change just because of the players.
No, yeah, I think I persisted for about 6 games, and then the bullying got too much.
Yeah, that's often what happens in football clubs. Talk to us, Olly, about the season so far, because albeit you've probably played about 3 league games or whatever it is, hell of an FA Cup run, ending in Banbury. So, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've done really well. 4 league games, because we were awarded the Whittam game, the one that was called off after 83 minutes. So we've played 4, won 3, and drawn 1. We've had a good FA Cup run. We did all right in the trophy to start with, and then lost away at Loughborough, I think, to go out of that competition. But our league form's been brilliant, and we've obviously beaten some higher league opposition in the FA Cup as well. It's a shame that it came to an end at Banbury, really, especially considering they were drawn Canvey in the next round, which we would have seen as being quite a winnable game, really. And incredible that those teams have progressed further in the competition than Ipswich Town. It's amazing, really.
But that's nothing to shout home about, though, is it?
No, but we've played some really good stuff. We've played some really good football this year, and the team is. I think the squad collectively is the best that there's been in the 6 years I've been at Bury. There's been better individuals at times that you would certainly take in this team, but as a collective, this is the best squad we've had.
Yeah. And in terms of team morale, then I get the feeling that the team morale is in a good place. You're in a good place as a team. Good team spirit.
Yeah, and there's a real range, isn't there? I think we go from the oldest player, Carlos Edwards, at 42, to the youngest lad in the team at about 17. So there's a huge range. I know when we played together at Walsham, a lot of us were around the same sort of age. Really, you were a little bit older, but a lot of the players were. Yourself and Trev and Muzzy maybe a little bit older, but most of us were around the same sort of age. But you need a few experienced heads, I think. So that it's myself and Fenny and Carlos that are sort of carrying that torch really as the older players. And then the average age, if you take us three away, it's probably about 20, I think 19 or 20, which has got to be one of the youngest Bury squads has been in a long time. But yeah, it's a really good feeling in the change room. Yeah. Big buzz about the place. I think that goes right through the club at the moment. It's not just in the first team. I think throughout Bury Town and that community and the fans and everything there, it's really moving in the right direction.
As it stands, Ollie, it's I read that the league season isn't due to kick off until the 19th, but a number of clubs are trying to bring games. But why on earth are they leaving it so long when everybody else seems to be kicking off on the 5th?
I think the FA Trophy is now been scheduled for the 5th, so that okay. Sort of explains one of those. I think the league have given us permission to get at least one game in advance, as long as we give that 5 days notice for the officials. I think we'll try and get one in on the 12th. I think there'll just be that game. At the moment, I think that's likely to be Histon in that match. So yeah, I don't know why they left it quite so late. I would have been. I think I've made no secrets that I'm quite keen to get going earlier. But we certainly would have been happy to go on the 12th or even on the 5th, I think. But yeah, it's just how it is.
I wanted to mention actually, because I saw a tweet of yours going back to that Banbury game, Ollie, and you just talked about team spirit and team morale. And I know you're captain of the team at the moment, with Ollie Fenn being injured. He's been injured for a while, I think, as well, and I think he's due to be out for a while. So you're captain of the team. What's the deal with you checking into hotels on a Friday night, not even travelling up with the team? You talk about team morale, and then I don't want to be, I know I might upset you here, but you're not on the team bus. You're not on the team bus on the way back. Where's your sense of togetherness here? Where's the captain when they need him? What's going on?
It's a great point, Tats.
Thank you.
Yeah, when you reach a certain age, you understand the importance of having a good night's sleep before the game, particularly after a week at work where you've been sort of overworked by your line manager and your superior. But yeah, it was funny because I'd obviously checked in down there at the hotel, and the hotel manager greeted me quite warmly. I had my Bury Town face covering on, and he said, "Oh, great, you're here for the game tomorrow." He said, "You only had 90 tickets. You've done wonders to get yourself a ticket for the game tomorrow." I said, "I'm Bury Town captain." I'm sorry. So yeah, but I stayed down there. It's quite funny though. About half an hour later, I got back down for some food, and the youngest lad in the squad at the moment, 16-year-old, what's his name, Angus Mills. And he's checking in with his mum and dad. So he so it was the oldest player, one of the oldest players in the squad, and the youngest player. Both got the right idea. Get down there early, experience the wonders of Banbury on a Friday night. Yeah. A nice stroll in the morning to loosen the legs rather than sit on this coach for 3 or 4 hours. And yeah, it's the right way to approach the game. Obviously, it worked because I scored, but I think if a few others had stepped up, we might have got through.
Yeah, always blame the others. Actually, to be honest, that it sort of reminds me. And Trev, this is where I listened to Ollie talk about those sort of weekenders that you got, and we were lucky at Bury, and when we got a fair few of those in terms of the Vars runs and stuff, and they were fantastic. Weren't they? Checking into a hotel as a team, actually doing it as a team as well.
Yeah.
some of I think down to Brockenhurst and Crook and a few other places. They were good. I miss those.
Yeah, the best one I think we had was Crook. We got booked into a hotel in Durham, and I remember telephoning them, and it was it just a few weeks before Christmas, I think, or it might have been a couple of weeks after. Either way, it was quite a period, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because it was quite a period, we got an absolute cracking deal. But I do remember when we used to be drawn away in the Vars, it was always a bit difficult because Wilkes would always say that he felt that players would probably get a better night's sleep in their own beds, and he was a bit reluctant for them to go to a hotel. But obviously we couldn't with Crook and Brockenhurst because it was just, it wasn't exactly just down the road. It was especially Crook. It was quite a distance away. So, but yeah, they are good nights, but you just have to be so careful when you have a team night or team staying in a hotel, because I remember with the Crook game that Wilkes did his nut because there was players in the sauna in the morning, and he was trying to explain to them about being dehydrated. I had to go and turf a load out and just say, look, you've got to try and do almost what you would do on a Saturday morning at home. Yeah. So it is difficult, but you know what it's like when you've got a load of young lads and they're, everything's paid for, and they're probably eating more than what they should eat. And I remember Brockenhurst away, particular Tats, which we spoke to Ian Miller about it the other day, that dreadful game, really flat. We just couldn't get going. The legs were heavy, but we managed to just sort of scrape through. But you have to get the balance right. When people aren't used to it, it can backfire, can't it?
Yeah, agreed. But then you weigh that up against, like, we had the Didcot. I think it was the quarterfinals of the Vars where we went down in the morning. Similar distance, really. Olly, Didcot's really close to Banbury, and we probably felt that wasn't the best preparation as well. So it's a balancing act to get that right.
In my defence, I had made arrangements for my my old man to drive my car home so that I could get on the team coach on the way back in the event that we won. But as it stood, I drove home. I got back about 2 hours before the coach did, so it was a good result, really. Natural result.
Yeah. Olly, talk to me about Supporters Player of the Year. This is becoming it's becoming a bit monotonous, actually, for everyone else. Anyway, like, what are you going to let anyone else like join in or contribute? Or
again, if I knew this was going to come up, I would have brought a prop. But
would you? What 4 of them or 5 of them?
It's funny, the actual trophy that you get to keep just for the year has been here collecting dust for some time now, and it's got some great names on there. I think Bully's on there, Ian Miller's on there. He's won it a couple of times in a row. I think Ian Miller might be on there 3 or 4 times actually. But yeah, it's the benefit of coming from a very, very big family. I think it's and all that sort of groundwork I do in terms of canvassing for votes and just being a nice bloke.
Yeah, we were going to touch on that. We felt it was a bit extreme to run a marathon though, to buy season tickets for your supporters so they could vote for you, Olly. I mean, there's ways of doing things, but wow.
I had the shirt made up. I think on the front it was the link to the Just Giving page, and on the back I think it's vote for me. It's 5 years in a row, I think. Although last year was a strange one because the season obviously finished early, and they did a different version of the voting. Obviously, they normally ask people that last game of the season. I think they take the votes, and this time it was emailed in. And I don't know if you guys remember, but on Twitter, I sort of sent a tweet out saying I wasn't too happy with this system. It was open to a few people maybe voting for themselves or getting people to cast them.
Donald Trump, didn't you?
I wasn't too pleased, but still, so it obviously worked. And thank you to all those duplicate email accounts that my family and friends had made up to vote for.
So let me get that right. The way I've read into that is it looked like you weren't going to win. You kicked off, and then you won. Is that?
Yeah.
Have I summed that up?
And now he's happy.
That's about right.
Have you got some memorable goals, Ollie, you've scored a fair few. I don't know what the numbers are for you scoring at Bury, but I know you've banged in a few. Have you got a few favourites?
Yeah, I'm not sure how many I have scored now. I was looking at the appearances because I was trying to track down the guy who's top, but I think it said Dick Rayner is over 600 games. So I don't fancy my chances of getting up there. I think Trev's on over 400. I think for Bury, is that right?
Yep.
But yeah, in terms of goals, I've not kept track of it. But favourite goals, I suppose, the last few years, there's was a good diving header that I scored at home against possibly a Coggeshall, I think, something like that. There was a goal against Molden and Tiptree, a left-footed volley from the edge of the box, which I was particularly fond of, and I think there was a goal against Basildon as well at home, an acrobatic effort. So they're the ones that sort of stand out for me.
It's 3-1 Bury Town.
Of those three, I think the header's my favourite one because it's sort of textbook movement.
Yeah,
That's the one that I enjoy most of all. I'm quite good in the air for someone that's not particularly tall.
good goals, all three of them. Good goals, I have to say.
Yep.
Time at Walsham then. Time at Walsham. It was a good time for you. It was a bit of a platform for you, I think, to move on to about 28 clubs afterwards.
No, I've not been at too many. It was his first taste really of men's senior football, of playing at a standard. It was I played at Step 5 there. That's the first time I played there. I think the year before I was playing Bury Saturday League, and I played some university football stuff beforehand. So it was it was a great platform to go and play at a higher level. But I didn't ever see it as that. I didn't think at the time, well, I'm going to go from Walsham and go and play at a Bury Town or a Sudbury or a Leiston or somewhere else. It was just enjoying my football there, I think. And I think the club has probably still got very much the same feel now. It's a family club, a really good village club that probably punches above its weight, really, in terms of the facilities they've got, considering where it is. I think it was brilliant. And we obviously we didn't win a league and we didn't get promoted, but we had some really good times there, I think, in the couple of years that I played.
And in terms of a platform, we talked about, there's a certain picture that comes up, and I can't seem to get away from this picture, Ollie. There's a picture that I've seen on Twitter many times. There's a picture when I go around your house, it's plastered on your wall. There's a picture when I go to work, it's going to be up on up in the sports hall, and it's you wearing a Luton Town kit. Talk me through this picture. It haunts me every time I see it.
I'd been playing for Walsham all that season, and John Taylor come on board at Walsham as our assistant manager, and a real character. But John could give you one or two bits of advice, and they were like little golden nuggets. There were things that you'd take and put into your game, and you thought, why did I never think of this before? Why has nobody told me this? And one of his key things was just go and, he said, get it, give it, and then F off into the box was his words. And he used to say that a lot. And then he used to say, hang around the back post, because the number of times the ball comes into that area. And I think I had my most prolific season that year with John on board, and scored mid-20s, I think, in terms of goals. And I knew at some point during that season that Bury were keeping tabs on me. I think Bury put a 7-day approach in at one stage, and we played a game over at Thetford Town. And I scored a couple that night, and I thought I played quite well. Maybe should have scored a hat-trick, but I thought I played quite well. And I understand Wilkes was over there. I don't know if Trev was over there at the time, but Russ was there that night. Go on, Trev, sorry.
Let me tell you this. So I'd actually put in the 7-day for you. I went over to Thetford to watch the game and reported back. And that's as far as it went, unfortunately. It didn't go any further.
Yeah, so
I remember it well.
It's a strange one. I thought I'd had a reasonable game, but it was weird that the approach had apparently come in, but then I never spoke to Berry at that stage. I think a couple of seasons before that, I had played a game. Again, it was a trial game. I think Scully had played in the first half, and he came off at half time away at Biggleswade, and I came and played the second half.
Yeah.
So I'd played a game, a little bit of a game for Berry. Berry had a number of striking options at a time with Sam Reed, and Kieran LeBon was there at a time, and Scully himself. And so it wasn't as though they had any shortage of options up there. But the strange thing with that Thetford game was that I saw Russ in the bar afterwards, and I knew about this approach, and I said, well, is anybody going to speak to me? And he didn't really say too much about that. And then a chap approached me in the bar and said, I've been watching you all season. I've been recording your games. I wasn't really aware of it, but I've been recording your games, and I've been reporting back to 2 clubs. Are you keen on having a trial? And I said, oh, yeah, obviously I will be. So I'll pass your number on. And it was the next morning after that Thetford game. I was woken at about 7:30, and it was John Steele on the phone, Luton Town manager. And he said, I've heard really positive things. I've been watching the videos, keen to bring you in for a trial. How are you fixed in the next few weeks? And then I went to Luton on trial for sort of 4 or 5 weeks, and played 3 times. And that photo was playing just a friendly game against Thurrock, I think it was. And it was a strange one. I think I'd been working all day. I'd driven down in the evening after work and got caught in the traffic, as you always do, on the QE2 bridge. And I turned up about 15 minutes before kickoff, and I thought I've missed my chance here. I think this is the second game I played. I played the game at Histon, and then played this one, and I thought I've missed my chance because I'm going to be on the bench now. And John wasn't there that night, but his assistant Hakan said to me, he said, just go out, go and get warm, and stay out there. He said, we'll do our team talk, we'll come out, and then you'll start the game. And I was playing in midfield, actually. He said, you'll start the game, and wasn't really in the game first 20 minutes, didn't play very well. The striker went off injured, and then I was playing on my own up front, and I think I set a couple up and scored one that night. And that picture is me wheeling away in celebration for one of those goals.
I've seen it too much, if I'm honest, but I appreciate the story behind it.
It was frustration, really, because I played really well that night, and John wasn't there, and Hakan held me back afterwards and said, you've got something, like, really impressed with how you played, want you to come and feature next week, and John will be there. And so the week after, we played Peterborough away, and again, I think it might have well been an evening after school. I can't remember what the situation was, but I've certainly been working. And I drove down for this game, and we played Peterborough first team. Barry Fry was there on the sideline watching the game with his shirt off, which was a real sight to behold. I think they had the Clough was there at the time. I think it's their manager, and the game was being videoed, and we beat them 2-1. And Peterborough would set up with the team that was due to start for them in the FA Cup at the weekend. And they then played Reading away on the Saturday with the same lineup and beat Reading 6-0 at Reading, which was it was bizarre. So I was thinking, well, I'm playing on my own up front again. But to be fair, playing on my own against a team of that quality, they knocked the ball around well in possession, didn't really get near it. And I was running doggies an awful lot. And I just remember thinking after come off, I didn't really offer anything more than what they probably already got. And I think that's when it sort of came to an end. And but after that second game, I thought I was going to get a contract. Honestly, did.
Did they tell you why it was the end of the road at that time for you? Were they honest with you, or did they just say, sorry, you know better than what we got?
They didn't even officially end the trial. I think the situation was they were conference and they were going into the season. It got to the end of the summer and they were already back in pre-season. The season was pretty much starting like the week after, and it was sort of left as, we'll keep tabs on you, we'll keep watching you. And they obviously went on to win the conference that year, I think with over 100 points, and then they won League Two either the year after or maybe the year after that. So they obviously had a very strong squad as it was anyway. I was 26 at the time, which for a lot of people they would have thought their chance had been and gone really at that sort of age. But I was probably at my peak physically, and obviously I felt confident in front of goal and all those sorts of things. So yeah, it felt a really good time for me.
It's interesting actually you say that you were 26, because a lot of people know Connor Hall only got his first professional contract at Harrogate when he probably was similar age, about 27, 28. And I think there are a few clubs who do take the risk. And I don't know why there aren't more, because, as you say, physically at that age, you're not the finished article, but it's easier for a manager or a coach to see how you can cope with the physical game. Mentally as well, you should be in a better place. And I also think that if you give people the opportunity when they're sort of mid-20s or 26, I think they'll grab it more and cherish it more than those that are probably at the other end of the scale. But just touching on, so you had a taste of that side, Ollie, and obviously it was disappointing that it didn't go on for you. But you mentioned somebody earlier on, and I'm just keen to find out, because whenever I've seen this guy play, he has been fantastic on the pitch. He's been great with the youngsters he's playing against and giving them some words of advice during games. Carlos Edwards, let's just touch on him, because you say, was he 40, 42?
Yeah, he's just turned 42 a few weeks back. When I was had that trial, the thing that I felt was the difference was fitness. People training day in, day out, and you can gain that. You can get that as soon as you get into that routine. And that's the perfect link into Carlos, because I've said this elsewhere. Normally, when players get towards the end of their career, but they've come down from a higher level, you can tell that they are a step ahead in the mind and the way that they play, and they always seem to find that extra yard of space. Gavin Johnson was the perfect example of that. But you can see their legs have started to go a little bit, so that their body can't always do exactly what the mind is doing, but they make up for it because they can just read the game so well. Carlos is an exception because his body is he's still one of the fittest players we've got in the squad, and it's incredible really that he's double the age of most of the lads in there, almost 3 times the age of the youngest member of the squad, and he's still doing it. And you're right. Somebody said to me the other week, do people not try and kick him because they know where he's come from and they know what his? I don't think they do, because they respect him too much.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
and you're right in terms of what he does in terms of even opposition, saying the right things to young lads and coaching our own boys, and he exudes a calmness as well. You see the way that we keep possession of the ball and people feel comfortable on the ball, and that comes from his calming presence, I think, in the midfield. The only shame for me is that he didn't come even earlier, because Woodbridge for the last couple of seasons, and he must have been absolutely tearing up Woodbridge and whoever he played against, because even in the very town team he stands out, and that's a league above.
I think you say that, but sometimes it depends on the players that you've got around you as well, doesn't it? As to how that makes you look, and that's not being disrespectful to Woodbridge, perhaps, but if you've got slightly stronger players around you, it probably makes his life even easier anyway.
I think the other thing with Carlos is there's absolutely no ego there whatsoever. There's no sense of thinking he's better than anybody else. When he came in the building, my first thought as captain was, blimey, being captain of a guy that's been there and done that, is he even going to take any messages on board from a journeyman non-league footballer? But there's no sense of that whatsoever. He listens to you. He takes on board the things that you want to say to him, and he'll give advice and feedback. And he's one of the lads, really. He's brilliant. And some of the stories he's obviously got to tell from his time in the professional game are brilliant to hear as well.
I think ultimately, and this is what a lot of people still don't understand, the reason he's still playing is because he loves the game, and he probably is enjoying his football now, probably similar to how he was when he was playing when he was a teenager, in that he's probably got a new lease of life, in that he's working with a bunch of players who are ambitious at that level, who want to learn, who want to improve. We've had it this year with Ian Miller. Ian Miller this year has been absolutely superb, because the youngsters are buying into everything, and he can see that they want to improve. So he's looking, thinking, I want to help these guys. And obviously a lot lesser scale when I was coming towards the end at Bury when I was 34, 35. And then all of a sudden we had players like Craig Parker, Ian Miller, Tom Bullard coming through. that gave me a bit of a buzz, because I was thinking, I can help these guys. I know they're going to be the future, but I can help these, even by playing half an hour alongside them and just helping them at training. And they were taken on board. They wanted to progress. They wanted to improve. It gives you a bit of a buzz. And I should imagine he's having the time of his life at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right. Same with myself. I think obviously coming towards the latter sort of years of playing, but I think having the young lads around you, it keeps you young, really, and keeps you fresh as well. And it challenges you. I think they do want to take on board some of the messages, because they know that you've been around the block a little bit and you've been playing for a little while. But yeah, Carlos is incredible. He's not too bad at fixing doors and windows as well, as I found when I had him over my house a couple of weeks ago doing some work. If people don't know, he's working at Frames Conservatories now, locally, just in Bury. So he come to fix the old summer house doors for me the other week, which was a bit bizarre.
Did he have to put a cat flap in it for you? Obviously you didn't have one before, because you didn't have a cat legally, did you? So
no. Enough about that.
No, but he's all joking aside, he's great to watch, and to watch him play with a smile on his face. And the reason I pick up about what he says to opposition players, when I've seen him play against Walsham for Woodbridge, and I saw him play against Walsham for Bury, I've heard people who play our youngsters on the pitch at the same time have said, "Can't believe it." He's encouraged me because I hit a pass, and Matt, my son, has said he recognises me now, and it's almost like, "How you doing, big man?" And it's just he doesn't have to do that, and that's really a real lift and a buzz for a youngster.
Yeah.
And I think I'll take my hat off to him. I think it's great. And a few weeks ago, I saw Grant Holt play for Wroxham. Not the same sort of player as Carlos Edwards, as we know, but he's out there. He looks as if he's enjoying it. He's still effective. He's playing with a smile on his face, and I just think that's brilliant. I think that's absolutely brilliant. They're so valuable, those people.
I do remember when I used to go and follow Chelsea home away, and I think I said this to Tats before. A chap that was involved in football said to me, "You're a long time retired. Enjoy playing for as long as you can, and as much as you can." I think it's right, and I think those guys obviously take that on board.
Yeah, you can't beat it, because if you go into coaching or managing, yes, you get different buzzes, but you don't get the same. You don't get the same feeling of playing on the Saturday afternoon, and the pitch is, it's been raining. There's a bit of skid on the pitch. There's tackles going in. You roll your sleeves. You can't ever get that feeling back, unfortunately. So, but there you go.
This is bringing back memories now of listening to some of the previous podcasts, because this topic has come up. You're in that exact position when you talk about the latter years, Ollie, and knowing you. And you talk there about being, I think in the latter years, that you want to lead by example, but you want to be a role model, but you want to be a role model also by showing that you are still fit. Carlos Edwards is still super fit, and you are, and you've got years ahead of you if you stay in the shape that you do. It's that conversation's a really difficult conversation, because it starts creeping up on you, and then people are like, I remember Ben Coker talked about it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Chris Henderson was talking about it, and they were talking about it in a way that was quite sad to listen to, because it was like, really like almost worried about, God, when it does come to an end, what are they going to have? What are they, what is their I suppose lifestyle going to look like? Because it's such a major part, isn't it? Football is just such a massive part of what we do at any level. I'm not talking about, it doesn't have to be professional. It's all the way down to grassroots. It just occupies so much of your time, and the friendships and the training and the commitment. And so I think a
lot of people have probably, in these 2 lockdowns, it's been a microcosm of what it's going to be for them when their days are over, because there's been no for us at the weekend, and it's what you're going to do to replace what football gives you, and some people have been extremely lost without it, to be honest.
It links back to these conversations, Trev, doesn't it? This was the whole point of these conversations and the podcast initially.
Yeah, it was, and it's a good point. Just you were saying that, Ollie. I was thinking about that these 2 lockdowns have kind of. I remember the first time we went back training, and I said to the players, "Look, it's quite simple. Just remember how difficult it's been the last few months. So when you're having a difficult time on the pitch on a Saturday afternoon, just think it can never be as bad as what you've been through. Make the most of it, enjoy it, play with a smile on your face. Don't worry. You know, we'll win some, we'll lose some. Just make the most of it." And I think you're right. I think a lot of people, especially the second one, which has become harder for a lot of people, because it's not too sure what's going to happen at the end of it. And I think you're right. It's been tough for a lot of people, and I think a lot of people realising how important that release is on a Saturday afternoon or even a Tuesday night, when sometimes you would have thought, "Oof, you know, do I really fancy going there and playing tonight?" You'd grab it with both hands now, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Right, we're coming to the end, but we've got one more thing. We've just got to mention. Trev, you don't know this. I haven't discussed this with you, but Ollie's wondering what the hell's coming here. Olly is the only player that can come along to an away game in football on like a fun bus coach and bring his photo snaps of his holiday with his missus or his missus at the time. these lovely romantic holiday snaps. Olly, talk me through those. What was the reasoning there?
The worst thing is it wasn't even my missus at the time. I think it was a family holiday, and I just happened to bump into somebody who I was convinced was the love of my life, I think. And I I think I came back and I think I developed about three lots of film there, and I brought them along, and the lads have passed the photos down on the bus. Before the days of your smartphones and stuff, wasn't it? So I don't know how I must have had some of those, one of those cameras.
Yeah, it was like a Kodak. Yeah.
Or a Polaroid or something, not sure, but yeah, I'll have to dig those photos out at some point to show you them again.
I tell you what, Tats, that was a cheap shot.
It was a cheap shot. It was someone else.
You didn't even tell me. You didn't even tell me. I mean, that's, if you'd have told me, Ollie, I'd have said you can't do that. You can't do that. That's out of order.
You think of all the banter that goes on in football, and on those, especially on the fun bus at Walsham was fantastic. We had some great cracks to and from games, with Martin Lash at the helm, really leading it, and we've got Lashy coming on, haven't we, on a future episode as well. But we had some great times. But yeah, it's just somebody reminding me. I can't remember if it was you, Ollie, or someone else, but someone reminded me of that, and I completely forgot. But that created a good sort of drive of chat at your expense. I hate to say, but it was
at my
good.
expense. Yeah. Thanks, mate.
That's a great way to end. I think that is such a lovely way to end, just to bring it together like that.
Yeah, Olly, if only I had a bit more time, but I'll tell you a sort of another chapter of that story at another time. I'm sure, maybe private
developments, life development. Probably captured on your phone now rather than a plastic Kodak disposable camera. Love it. Olly, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for coming on. Much appreciated.
Yeah, cheers for having me on. It was about time I got the invite. So
yeah, you've done well. We might think of a second episode with you on now that you've cut the mustard.